all of you. Yeah. So question answer session and open question answers. Usually we have question answers after the class and generally pertaining to the class. But today I'm going to open it up for all things that you always wanted to ask but never had the time. Yeah. Boliye.
I wanted to ask you about your trip to Japan and the fire ceremony for Fukushima.
Trip to Japan is very nice. Wonderful time, wonderful people, very dharmic. And you find, I mean, this is, I think, what ancient India, when they describe in the books, you know, and even when the British first came, this is what they describe in the books, is that if a bag of gold was lying in the middle of the road, after 10 days it would just be put on the side of the road. That was the dharmic tenor of the people when the British first came. So in the East India accounts, this is what you hear. And this is what is there in Japan, and it made me have an insight. It's a sad thing, but it's true, is that in Japan you see the pride of a country that has never been colonized. It's one of the only countries in the whole of Asia that has never been colonized. And that is the tenor. There is so much pride in their work. There is pride in following dharma. I mean, on a lonely, vacant street, to the extent of the righteousness is so much. On a lonely, vacant street, where in a small town where there is hardly any incoming traffic, when the little walking man is not there on the signal, they will still be waiting. Yeah, they will still be waiting. And I just went ahead, you can take me out of India, but you can't take India out of me. Yeah. You can take me out of India, but India is here. How are you going to take India out of me? So I just, sashayed along, and these people were still waiting. So that is, it touched me deeply that they have so much, respect. And then they told me that even in big cities like Tokyo and places like that, in the middle of the night, it is safe to take the buses and the trains, the metro, the subway, whatever they have, and nobody touches you or your belongings. It's one of the safest cities for women. And then even during the day, the people put all their briefcase, their wallets, their purses above so that more people can sit, and they go to sleep without even caring that anybody is going to take it. That really touched me. And they have a high work ethic standard, and it's a really wonderful culture. They bow a lot, and I talked about this in one of my talks. I said, when you bend, you don't break. Yeah. The inability to bend leads to breakage. If you're stiff, like that, and some storm comes, you cannot weather it. Yeah. You have to be, in order to be strong, you have to be humble. And they were very happy when I said that. Use the teeth, yeah. And then, so that was a very nice thing. And then I was also very happy that they have a very good sense of humor, How do I know that? They understood everything that I said, and they were able to laugh also, They were able to understand, and it was not like it was some humor coming from some other country. This humor is very contextual. So they were able to understand and appreciate the humor from, maybe I embody the humor from two cultures, but still they were able to appreciate it and do that. So I have the highest respect for the people there, and it was very, very nice. And the group of people I was with was extremely, a group of religious leaders who are extremely self-aware and who are very emotionally mature, and it was such a joy being with them. There was no one-upmanship, my religion is better than yours, I am better than you, nothing like that. There was really a desire for learning and engagement, and a desire to be transformed more than to transform others. That is what I gauged. So it was just delightful. It was really some deep conversation. And then what other highlight? Yes, we have one of Swamiji's disciples, a Japanese Swami, And then when I went there, I started to look for him, because I had not seen him in many, many years. And I knew he was at large, but the question is where, And then, I called India to get the number, and there were some very hilarious things because one digit was missing. And then I said, so what if a digit is missing? It's only from 1 to 9 plus 0. So there can only be 9 combinations of missing. So I called all the 9 numbers. Because who is going to call India again? Because it was very difficult to get India and everything. And at the ashram, people didn't know. Whoever I asked was giving that missing digit. So then I said, I'm just going to try 1 and 2 and 3. It's only 10 numbers. It's not a big deal. So then finally I got him. And I think he was the 7th or the 8th. I don't recall all the 6th or the 7th. And then by the time I got him, I had learnt how to say hello and sorry to disturb you and all these. Don't ask me now. In Japanese. And I shocked him by saying all those things. And he was like, really? You are Swamini ji? I said, yes. He said, really? You are here? I said, yes. I said, come on over. And so he came. He couldn't come that day, which was a pity because that was the day I was giving the Vedanta talks. And I wanted him to translate because he has the background, he would be able to translate. He also wanted to come and translate, but unfortunately that could not happen because he was also teaching something the next time. So he came the following day. I had some photos. Yeah, and the people were thrilled to see him. Oh, they were just so happy because he was one of them. It was priceless. It was just, I loved just seeing him at large with all the people, and it was just wonderful. It was great. So that was one of the highlights for me. And then he said that 2 of his students had taken the 1-month course that he had. Remember, 2 were from Japan? I said, yeah. Those were his students. I didn't know that. So that was another new thing. And then, so it was very nice and wonderful, wonderful time. And then the fire ceremony was 2 days before I left, or 1 day before I left. It was a wonderful thing. So then they had the wood people and the water people. They divided all the religious leaders, some offering the wood and some offering the water, because the water is an important component of the fire ceremony. And so we had to do all that, and then it was, I think there were about 6,000 people watching this. This was for the healing of that whole area, the nuclear and radiation and everything. And it's a Buddhist homa with Hindu mantras as well as, Buddhist mantras and other interfaith mantras interspersed. So it was totally an interfaith homa. It was fantastic. I have pictures, I'll show you. We should do a photo thing. We should do a photo session. Maybe next time. And then, so that was very nice. 6,000 people came, And then they made it all dark so they could just see the fire. And Indian homas, how many of you have seen an Indian fire ritual? Okay, so many of you have. Okay, now in the Indian homa, somebody is talking, somebody is laughing, somebody is, spilling ghee, somebody else is slipping on it. This makes them for the Indian homa. These people you have to go and learn the homa from. It was a bonsai homa. Everything, lahan, small, chota, everything, the cups are chota, the fire pit is small, and the hands are also small. The wood, each piece of wood is perfectly polished, chiseled, and on top of that there is even place on some of them to write a prayer and offer it. It's fantastic. It's just fantastic. And you have a free calligraphy pen that is provided in the temples to write your prayer and keep it, so the next time they have homa, they are going to put it in the fire. So your prayer is directly offered. So many things we have to learn. All these small things. Not a single mess anywhere. We are such a messy people. Really, we have to learn this. And I said to that lady, that Her Holiness, I said, please go to India and teach this homa. She laughed. She said, that's where it came from. I said, yeah, but I think we lost a few things on the way. This is so good. This was fantastic. And they do all kinds of offerings and same things that we do, and they really do all these leaves and everything. Everything little. And it's also good because in this day and age there is no wastage. Everything little. The fire sticks are all exactly the same size, polished, and they come in red bundles, bundles of red thread. And then you take one and you offer, and the way it is decorated, you don't even feel like having the homa there because you don't want to mess up anything. Perfect. And the decorum of the people is perfect. In India they will be screaming. Here they were just happily sitting. No one talked. The whole time no one talked. 6,000 people, you could hear a pin drop. Other than the mantras, no one said a word. And then they have in their tradition, they have even we have it, like you go and throw flower petals. And instead of flower petals, they had a little rose petal shaped paper with rose petal painting on one side, a photo, and on the other side they had a blessing written down. Like what you get out of a fortune cookie, a nicer version, like may you have long life, may you have health, and these, these young girls in wonderful dresses came with these baskets of blessings which were kept near the homa pit, and they all took it very artistically. I was remembering Gita, like in little ballet steps, and then they just threw it into the audience. And in India it would have come in the newspaper, and the next day there would have been a stampede, and some people would have definitely got injured. Here the people waited for the blessing to come to them. They did not push, they did not jostle, they did not suppress anyone else. They just received it if it came near them. If it was out of reach and it was indecorous to go like this, they just sat there and they collected it afterwards. Fantastic to see. Such discipline. And then in certain parts you're not allowed to even clap because it's a holy moment. So their way of clapping, because the hall was dark, 6,000 people, and they found this light which was about as high as this finger with yellow, red and white or blue, green, different colors. So, and that was battery lit up kind of like this. So they were just doing this in the dark to show their enthusiasm and appreciation. It was so beautiful. All you saw was this. Yeah, and then what happened? After the end of the homa, that little bit of that fire, we gave it to everybody in candles. It was collected, and we held that and then left it, in various places. And that was very beautiful because it was all in the dark. And then after that, we went for lunch, and then was the talks. My talk was also after that. And there were about 3,000 people in the talk. And I was just telling earlier to somebody who was asking, I said that I think I found out what it must be like to feel like Dalai Lama, maybe that's what, he felt like, or he feels like wherever he goes. So many people. It was just beautiful to see them listening with such rapt attention. And the talk was translated simultaneously, so I had to wait and stop and translated it. It was wonderful. It was about how to awaken Buddha nature in yourself, how to awaken compassion. Very nice. I had a good time. Yeah, what else? Food was nice, and vegetarian food is not difficult to get because a lot of people are vegetarian and so vegetarian food. And what else? Any other questions about that? That was good. Yeah.
How many religious leaders were there from different faiths?
About maybe 50. Yeah.
Did anyone record it? The ceremony? Was it recorded?
They record it. I'm sure if you go to them, if we ask them, they will give. It was very well. They chant in Pali, which is a daily form of Sanskrit, daily usage form of Sanskrit, and so it is not difficult to understand at all. Pali is very, very easy. If you know Sanskrit, Pali is not hard. So that was that. Next question.
I think in India, the relationship between a guru and a student is kind of just it's traditional and it's kind of absorbed and people understand it automatically.
Yeah.
However, here I think in the West it's harder for us to grasp what it's all about, and I wondered if you would talk about that a little bit.
Okay. You see, there is no such thing as a guru, really. You know, there's not some kind of an entity called guru. You know? Yeah. A guru is again a relational entity. Guru is in relation to the one who calls that person guru, a shishya, correct? The other side of the guru relationship is shishya. So, guru is not so much a person as a relationship. Understand? It's an enactment of a relationship. And in fact, it's not different from any other relationship in the sense that all relationships gain validity only when you act on them, when they are enacted. You cannot say, this is my wife, this is my husband, this is my spouse, so I can do whatever I want. Correct? In fact, you can't do whatever you want. Why? Because you are relating to them. You can't say, this is my child, this is my friend, and I don't have to say hello because this is my friend. Can you say that? Hello is a form. Hello is a form. Goodbye is a form. Happy birthday is a form. Happy Diwali is a form. And generally in interpersonal relationships, we welcome forms, because without forms, we don't have a relationship. Like when you say happy birthday, you wrap a present. In Eugene, it's usually with straw and newspaper. But still you take the trouble to find the newspaper and the straw and you wrap it, correct? And then you give it, say happy birthday. And then you may have taken hours to wrap it, getting the corners straight and nice. You must have taken half an hour to wrap it. And what does the other person do? Tear it up. And you watch your effort be undone in a second with glee. You are happy that they are unraveling your efforts. Look at the paradox, but this is the power of the form. And so we rely on forms. Hi, it's a form. And in fact, you notice it not so much when it's present, but when it's absent. Oh, how come he passed me or she passed me, didn't even say hello? And you give the person the benefit of doubt, must be worried about something, must be anxious. And then you say, where were you? Oh, I had a very stressful week. I just didn't even see you in the Saturday market or wherever. So, the forms are actually noted when they are present, you take them for granted. But you do engage in them, and when they are absent, you notice their absence, correct? Yeah. So, the whole world interacts with one another with the help of these forms. And the forms have the purpose of maintaining the relationship, correct? Because each time you see a friend, you interact, you reproduce the same kind of forms. Like there is a scout handshake and belonging to certain clubs. There is a certain complicated handshake. There is certain signs and signals and secret words and passwords and everything. So these are all forms which show a sense of belonging, which show a sense of reproducing the relationship constantly. And this is something we cannot avoid, because as long as you're alive and as long as you have, an intellect, as long as the intellect is there, you have no choice but to relate. In fact, the person is nothing but the one who relates, that is the person, with the help of forms. However, and likewise we have the similar kind of forms when relating to different people, The same forms that you relate to your friend do not apply to your parents, Although sometimes you would like it to be. You'd like to go up to your father and say, yo dude, but that's not recommended, And maybe certain fathers will appreciate it, but many fathers may not. They may say, who are you? How can you treat me like this? In India, definitely not, And in certain other traditional cultures, no. But even in this culture, I think the dad likes to be called dad, the mom likes to be called mom, and there are certain rules of engagement. There are rules of engagement for employers, for friends, for parents, and so many other people, for equals, for so many things. Similarly, there are rules of engagement with one's teacher and with what we call Ishvara, same thing, with the altar of surrender, with some kind of a altar that I make, a representation of Ishvara in my life. There are certain rules of engagement, and the rules are made, in the first instance, in social relationships, the rules are made for maintenance of the status quo, so that the samsara is maintained, so that I say hello to you and you say hello to me, and we are just individuals flotsam and jetsam in the ocean of samsara, so that we don't rub against each other, to maintain the status quo. However, the rules of engaging both with Ishvara and with the teacher, with the Guru, are for breakdown of the status quo. Not the status quo as in the relationship itself, but the status quo as in habitual patterns and orientations. So that's why the rules exist. And there's a difference between the first set and the second set of rules.
Yes.
In the first instance, when people relate to one another in samsara, it is to make oneself, and each other feel better, to make the other person feel better. These rules are there. And you also feel better because they are feeling better. In the second instance, the rules of engagement with the teacher are just for one's own self-growth. They do not benefit the teacher. When you do namaskara, when you bow to the teacher, when you touch the feet of the teacher, these are some of the rules of engagement. The teacher is not sitting and counting the namaskaras. One more to go, one down. The teacher is not sitting and counting the namaskaras. When I learn to bend and bow, there is a transformation that's happening inside me. What's happening? The rich food and the kalakand is getting digested because we are bent. All those Diwali sweets we just had, they are getting digested, Otherwise you have a big Madhya Pradesh. This middle state of India is the biggest state, Madhya Pradesh plus Chhattisgarh now, and Jharkhand, everything, And so you have this big middle region otherwise, when you don't bend. Actually, when you bend, you are enacting the understanding that I have still yet something to learn. Or you are enacting the gratitude how much I have learned. In either case, it's an enactment. And if you say, I have Shraddha, I have Bhakti, I have devotion in my heart, why should I bend? Then again, it's like saying, I know today is your birthday, why should I wish you? It makes a difference. In the first instance, it makes a difference to the person whose birthday it is. In the second instance, it makes a difference to you. Really. You benefit. And so the rules of engagement, really, they don't change that much because one is in a different place or one is in a different time or whatever it is. The rules are given because the rules exist because they are tried and tested, and they have been handed down from so many years. And like you said, in India, the child grows up, doing this. I still remember I saw the Shankaracharya, not the first one, whose text we study, but one of the descendants, the head of the Sringeri Pitha. I saw him when I was 8 years old, and then I immediately went and touched his feet. I don't remember anybody telling me that you have to touch his feet. And in fact, I had broken a rule, because girls and women should not touch him. And I, as a child, did not know. I just ran and caught hold of his feet and just put my head on his feet. I still remember this. And then everybody made a huge furore, all the men standing there. But that Shankaracharya said, she is a child, first of all. And first he said, it's okay. And he said, she's a child, stop. He made them stop, That's what it was. So basically, so you see, it's not always an advantage to grow up in the culture, because here actually I violated that very culture, you see, because there are certain rules for male monks, you know, and that's why it's good to be a female monk. And so that is, you know, a rule, and the rules are made so that one remembers to be in a place of being taught. That's why the rules exist. Otherwise, if I don't enact the relationship in a certain way, then I block, very unknowingly, nobody wants to do this, but very unknowingly, I block the channels of receptivity. I become argumentative, I have this one-upmanship, you know, I want to possess the teacher, I want to become friends with the teacher, you know, I want to go, you know, go do this, that or the other. And so therefore the purity doesn't mean some kind of purity, it's the purity only in the sense of that one-dimensional nature of the teacher and the taught, that all you do is receive the knowledge, and all that the teacher is to you is the teacher. That is what we want. The teacher should not spill over in your mind into the mother you never had, into the father you never wanted. You know, otherwise what it is called, the inner child takes over and adhyasa comes. Adhyasa means the obfuscating of the objective nature of the reality. And who is the teacher? The giver of the knowledge. But then people feel abandoned, people get offended, people feel sad, people feel bad. Why? Is the teacher doing anything? Not really. It's because the identity of the teacher has spilled over to the mother and the father that one was hurt by. Everybody has had some small hurt from the parents, because the parents, even though they are like gods for us, they are still fallible. So some memory, you know, they preferred the elder sibling, and now the teacher is looking at someone else, not at me. You know, these kinds of thoughts arise. And that is natural. That the thoughts arise, we cannot beat them up. You know, it's called projection, it's called transference. And this powerful projection actually comes. You know why it comes? It comes because there is a lot of Shraddha. Where there is Shraddha and Bhakti, the projection there, that's where it will come. But then you have to withdraw that projection, you have to suspend that projection, and you have to clean up the relationship so that you are only seeking the teaching again. That's why there is no other extraneous talk. When we sit here, we only talk about, you know, Vedanta. Japan, okay, theek hai. You know, that was fun. That's also ultimately about Vedanta only. Yeah, because we have so much to learn from. So we talk about only that which matters. And so we make this relationship a very clean and a pure relationship where there is no distraction at all. In fact, it's the purest relationship you will find, because the teacher, when you have a projection on the teacher does not have what Carl Jung calls a counter-transference. First there is transference, and then Carl Jung has this, he talked about another concept called counter-transference. Transference means you don't care about me. That's transference, correct? And if the teacher participated in the transference, if the not teacher, other person participated in the transference, what do you mean I don't care about you? See how much I love you, see what I did for you yesterday. That is a counter-transference. And this dance is samsara. Yeah. This is the counter of our experiences. Yeah, but here it's just a mirror. The teacher just mirrors your own insecurities really, without participating in trying to remove them, because it's not the teacher's job. The teacher's job is to teach, and the insecurities get removed in the process thanks to the teaching and thanks to also your own inner work. And so really, so the teaching relationship is kept very pure, free of extraneous considerations, activities, distractions, and any other projections of other relationships, you know, social or whatever. Because we don't try to the teacher has to take you out of samsara. You shouldn't bring the teacher back into samsara. Teacher ने बहुत मुश्किल से जोड़ा है भाई. Teacher with great difficulty has got out of samsara, and the greatest pull is to let me bring him back. That is what they say. And that's why, there are questions, this is in the rules of engagement, there are questions like certain questions which the teacher is very puzzled by. What do you like? Here teacher has worked so hard to let go of the likes and dislikes. What is it you really like? Tell. What will the teacher tell? And then the other question is, if you need anything, let me know. This is what you say to a friend generally, And if you say that to the teacher will say yes, yes, and will never get back to you. Why? Why? Because really, there is nothing to be needed, correct? Yeah. So it's very difficult to have a teacher. Really, I think you should give it up. It's a very difficult thing. Because how do you please someone who is always pleased? Because everybody wants to please the teacher. How do you please someone who is never displeased? How do you give to someone who doesn't want anything, And how do you take care of someone who doesn't need anything? That's precisely because of this paradox it works. It works because of this series of paradoxes, because there is no set of instruction for any relationships. And likewise for this relationship also. So basically, if I want to grow, I keep offering. And then maybe one time it will be taken. 2 times it will be taken. And I offer because it's an offering that's going to benefit me. I offer the seva. Seva here means service. I offer it in a spirit of, for my own self-growth, not because of my own ego. E has to go in order to grow. So it's a very funny relationship, and ultimately the final paradox is that this is the last frontier of duality. So you create this ultimate duality called Guru and Shishya to finally say Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. My salutations unto that Lord in the form of Dakshinamurti, who is, who has broken the line of distinction between Shishya and Guru and Jiva and Ishvara. There is no separation. So you create this, you take this last frontier of duality seriously and reenact it, and its reenactment seriously, because this is the ultimate duality, because one person here is not participating in the duality. That's why it works, and then the whole thing goes. Yeah, that was fun, no? Yes, thank you. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Earlier, you said, as we've heard before, speaking of the parampara, the teaching from the teachers speaking to the ears of the students who get it may indeed keep passing it on. Maybe question, how do we know it is really true? Because we are here. This is really curious because the guru doesn't exist until the teacher, the student manifests the need for the guru. So this whole game is based around my interrogating my own needs.
Yes.
And resolving them.
Yes.
Through
Through
eating the guru, ultimately.
You manifest the teacher, really.
Yeah, which is curious. That we always, like living in the tradition, thinking of the parampara as somehow coming down to us from the source, but in a different sense, it's the source manifesting the parampara from the bottom up by asking the question, by wanting to get free of samsara.
Yes. So when you ask the question, there is a certain Purva Punya, past good karma that coalesces even in the form of the question mark. At the end of the question is the good karma that forms the question mark and that dot at the end of it. And then and that yearning becomes a prayer, because that's the only want. And that yearning manifests a situation of contact with the one who will be the teacher. And the yearning manifests a period of studenthood, and then, and that's what it is. In fact, somebody came and said, will you be my teacher? And before they said that, they said to me, so I have heard that when the student is ready, ... but the teacher appears. And I said, we have a different take on this. And she said, what? I said, we have a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher disappears. She said, don't give me a heart attack. But that is the beauty of this tradition. Otherwise it becomes a cult. Otherwise all the time you become... See, that's another thing. Part 2 of this answer is that we don't worship the personage or the personality. You worship the person. And your personality is different from the Guru's personality, no doubt. Guru may be from South India and downing idlis by the dozen and sambar by the liter, correct? And you may be dipping your milk and jalebis, and you may be from a totally different part of the world. So that's not the comparison. The only thing here, it's so beautiful. The enactment is a conscious and a deliberate enactment that supersedes these personalities. So the personality may be different, but the person who is the Guru and the person who is you is one and the same. And the person who approaches the teacher for knowledge is unable to see the glory of themselves. That's why they approach somebody for knowledge, correct? So the teacher, in fact, the teacher becomes an object of transference because the student first sees that glory as transferred. His own glory, her own glory as transferred to the persona of the teacher. That's why there is love, shraddha, and a certain sense of awe. Correct? That's why you fall in love with what you see, because it's you. That's why you fall in love with the teacher. And then what? Then immediately the inner child comes and says, cross, 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 and then you become cross. The love soon turns into hatred. Why? Because the inner child has fixated on the personality of the teacher. But whereas what is the object of love is the person who is you. So the Guru models the object of love, which is really you, and stands in until you know yourself. First until you know Ishvara, and then until you know yourself. So here is you, the Shishya, here is the teacher, and here is Ishvara. And when you start seeing Ishvara, the Guru steps aside, which is what I mean by when the student is ready, the teacher, poof, disappears. That's healthy. Otherwise it's a cult. I am God and you are odd. This is, we don't need this. We need the teaching. So the focus is not on the person, the personality. It's on the cosmic person that everyone is trying to discover as the truth of themselves. Yeah. Yes.
In line with what we were talking about today with the intellect, like the way the teachings being contradictory is a way to sort of, the mind will kind of become relaxed.
Yeah, like the zigzag lady,
Zigzag.
the mind goes zigzag.
Yeah, and so, but it's funny because in some ways my personal experience of that is that I'm to a point now where my mind just relaxes and I feel like the mouse has gone offline.
Yes.
Taking a nap.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like you ask a question that needs a response and it's like, what? What? And lots of times the answer is wrong because the mind's offline.
It will come back. Right now, let it be on vacation. It's okay. It will come back. Yeah, it will come back. Yeah. He agreed and then he smiled at you.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yes.
Curious about when we were speaking of doership and the releasing of the identification with the doer. Where's the place for responsibility and for acting in the way of
Yeah.
the
You
Tao?
release doership, you don't release doing. Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to do your job. You have to do your job. But you relinquish the authorship of the action to Bhagavan. Just say Krishna is doing it, Rama is doing it, Jesus is doing it. Whatever your favorite form of Bhagavan is, just say I offer it up. It's not me. First of all, it's not me. So it's a strategic dissociation from being the author of action, and a strategic dissociation from being the reaper of the fruits of action. On both levels, the strategic disengagement has to take place. And the disengagement will just become dissociation without being strategic if you just say not me, not me, not me. Not me means where? Okay, Bhagavan. It is that power, that force, and the intellect which is also given to do the right thing that is making me do this, which is the incarnation of God inside this heart. So God is doing this, God is taking care of it, and the results are also prasad from God. So like when you go to a temple in India, one day they may have laddu. Laddu means a ball of calories. Yeah, very delicious ball of calories. And you say, wow, wonderful. Next week you go, they'll give you a little bit of water, tap water, And you don't say at that time, hey, where is my laddu? Last week you gave laddu. Same thing in communion. I've gone to places where they give communion. They don't say this is bread and wine. What do they say? This is body of Christ. This is blood of Christ. It means it has come. It is nothing other than Bhagavan. It is Bhagavan's body. It's Bhagavan's, law that you are having. And you don't fight with the other person. You got more wine. Give me some more. Why? By the time the plate comes to me, I have just such a small piece of bread. No. It's symbolic of taking in and assimilating what is in one's lot. Because what is Bhagavan. What is Bhagavan? What I cannot change, Bhagavan. And so I learned to understand and assimilate this by dedicating my actions and receiving the fruits thereof with acceptance, and then graduating towards glad acceptance. Yeah. That's called prasada buddhi, where the intellect sees everything as prasada, not just what is received at the temple. What is received at home, prasada. In-law, prasada. Outlaw, prasada. In-laws who behave like outlaws, prasada. This doesn't foster passivity. We are talking of things you cannot change. If you can change things, don't be sitting here. Please go and change. But that's not what bothers us, because if we are able to change, we will change. What bothers us are things we cannot change, and that is where the intervention is. I have to transform what I cannot change into a living incarnation of Bhagavan. I'm having darshan with difficulty. I'm having Bhagavan's darshan every day. Transform it into darshan. I love this word, darshan. Into viewing Bhagavan. So more difficulties, more Bhagavan in my life. That is the attitude. Yeah. So it's not that you do or don't do action. It's the attitude of humility and surrender with which the action is done that makes you a karma yogi. It's not what action you do. It's the attitude. We have a story in in the Puranas. There was an executioner, the one whose job was to put a cover over the head and hang or cut the person. This is in the ancient story, where such barbaric customs of punishment still prevailed. And the executioner dies, he also dies one day. And then he is very sad when he dies, because that disembodied entity, whatever survives death, the jiva that was the executioner, goes and is feeling very sorry for himself. He says, all my life I've done nothing but just, do this. And pull the chain, cut the neck. That's all I've done. What a horrible thing. And to his surprise, Indra comes to receive him. Who is Indra? King of heaven. Comes to receive him and says, come, this way. He says, what? I'm confused. People are throwing rose water and petals on him. And he says, what happened? He says, you did your job very well. You always thought of God. It was not in your position. You did not have the power to choose. And you tried to find other jobs, but you could not. We have seen all this. and you had to do a distasteful job. But still it became tasteful because we were doing a function of getting rid of miscreants in society, and you were doing it with humanity, with reverence and with humility. You see? So every job is transformed into that. That's what it is. You sanctify what you do by letting go of the doership. When you identify as the doer, the action becomes impure, because there is a parallel reality of the ego that is riding along for free on the action and is distorting the action. You at least suspend that if you're not able to remove that. And that's why the practice of devotion in any which way, the practice of surrendering to an altar, the practice of having a daily relationship with Ishvara is so important. In any tradition, it's very important. It's very important to learn to pray. Because otherwise we only know how to P-R-E-Y. We have to learn how to let go. Any which way we know how to surrender, we should do that.
What is a good way to learn how to pray?
From the heart. Yeah, that's one thing we don't even have to be taught, because any person in a desperate situation, a prayer comes out. Yeah. And even the children, the 15-year-olds, 14-year-old texting, they say OMG. That's a prayer. Yeah. Yeah, they say OMG, oh my God. Which is an expression of shock, wow, wonder, fear, something out of control. And that can even be made into a prayer. 3 letters, Yeah. That's what it is. It's as simple as that. You don't have to have complicated whatever. The heart has to be involved in it. And to involve the heart, we have all the fanfare and the matching sticks and the throwing into the fire, not throwing, placing into the fire, and the fire that dances only a certain way, only in Japan, very contained, beautiful fire, and everybody dressed in a certain way. That's all just to evoke a collective frenzy of surrender or wonderment. Because in the collective frenzy, it is easy to discover that heart, But individually too, you just do something from the heart. Bhagavan listens. You don't have to worry about Sanskrit because Bhagavan knows English. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you don't have to say I have to do it only in Sanskrit. You can do it in any language, in any way. It's a thought from the heart directed towards the one who is the source of it all. By whatever name you call her, him, it, doesn't matter. Yeah. But you have to have a personal relationship. And the same thing I said about the Guru applies to Bhagavan. Because the relationship with Bhagavan has to be enacted every day. That is worship. That is the rules of engaging with Bhagavan. And in India, it's beautiful because in the Hindu tradition, you can say Bhagavan is my friend. You can say that. One boy said that. He was very lonely. He was the only child and he was kind of, weak, and he was bullied a lot in school. And then, his mother told him, he said, I don't have any friends. He cried and his mother said, Krishna is your friend. And he imagined, he said, Krishna is my friend. And Krishna was so moved by his entreaties. Where are you? Come play with me. He manifested himself as a small boy, which only this little boy could see. And he played with him, He played with him, and there is a story of that. That is called Sakha Bhava, that's friendship, bhakti. Then you have Vatsalya Bhakti. The mother of Krishna loved to scold him. The mother of Krishna would say, look at those buttery footprints you have brought into the house. Look at that. In fact, whole body is full of butter, mouth is butter, head is butter, head to toe it's butter. What have you done? You bad boy. And Krishna says, Mom, I didn't eat the butter. What? How do you explain all this? Well, because I'm so cute and because I'm so small, the big boys ate the butter and smeared the butter all over me to frame me. This is called Vatsalya Bhakti. There are songs like this. Main nahi makhan khaye. I didn't eat the butter, mom. You know? There are songs like this. You see Krishna as your own baby. And because you can love your baby, it's very easy. That same kind of enacting of that love you do for this divine baby. Yeah. For Bhagavan in the form of baby. And there are so many baby Ganesha songs, baby Krishna songs. People love it. Because there is something nice about God, the all-powerful Bhagavan being diminutive, someone who I can carry and cuddle, but he is the ruler of the world. It's so comforting. I don't have to give up control because I have trouble giving up control. So I visualize Bhagavan as a small baby who I can cuddle. It's the motherly bhakti. Then this Mirabai, the saintess, the medieval saint poetess, she thought of Bhagavan as her spouse. You know, Mere to Giridhar Gopal. All I have is him alone, no one else. Because again, she had a historic, thing happened to her when she was 5. She was the princess in Rajasthan, and she was looking from the balcony down to see a wedding procession. And she saw the groom being taken on a horse. And everybody said, that's the groom and he's going to wed the princess. And she said, Mom, where is my groom? And since she was so small, the mother handed her a beautiful figurine of Krishna and said, that's your groom. And she said, okay, this is who I'm married to. This is my husband. And even though they married her, she lived in a separate building. And that, became the grief of that king, because she just said, I'm already married, sorry. I'm a one-husband person. I'm not. Yeah, and he tried to kill her and he would send her a snake and then it would turn into a garland. There are stories like this. Because he would send the box for the snake and the box for the garland can look very similar. It's a wicker basket. And so he sent her the snake. She thought it was a garland and put it on the Lord. She says, oh, my husband, my king has sent my husband a garland, and she just put it, it turned into a garland. That is the power of the intentionality. So you can say the Lord, nothing but my husband, my spouse, my friend, my child. Or if you say, I don't want to deal with the Lord, Goddess, she is the mother of the universe, she is my mother, she is my friend, she is my love, whatever it is. But you have to, this is an enacted relationship. And like in every relationship, the more you enact it, the more dividends come. Correct? Yeah. If you call your friend many times and you keep up the relationship, then when you need the friend, she is there, he is there. Correct? Because the friend will think, oh, when my time was needed, they were there, so I also am going to be there. Very freely the friend will give if you enact the relationship. Here also the relationship has to be constantly enacted, and don't ever think it's one-sided. Yeah. The other side is invisible, you don't see it, but you do see it. It is there. So have a practice of just standing in front of an altar or a shrine every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes. Ring a bell, sit quietly, light a lamp, do anything to just focus. But start that practice if it's not part of your practice. Let me tell you, there's nothing that moves mountains like prayer, really. Then you suddenly find yourself on top in every relationship, because that is the only relationship is that with the devoted and the devotee. And when that first relationship is set in order, all the relationship flows. Because really speaking, this is the core person, is the devotee. So when the devotee is set in right relationship, then all other relationship, because it's the devotee that is the son or the daughter. Devotee son, devotee daughter, devotee mother, devotee father, devotee husband, devotee wife, devotee worker. Everyone is first a devotee. That is the first relationship we have to nurture with the truth of myself, with the truth of the entire universe. That is what I have to nurture. And then everything else goes fine. Then suddenly you find things happening that you ever always wanted but don't even need to ask. It happens all the time. There's magic every day. Yesterday I thought of Kalakand, today it came. Yeah, because I wanted to make some sweet for all of you. But I didn't have the energy, so I just, gave up the idea and it came. That's what it is, because the whole world, the Jagat is a flow. And you are part of that flow. And to discover that I am part of the flow, I have to first go with the flow. I have to go with the flow, I have to worship the flow, I have to see the awe of the flow, I have to be in the wonder of the flow. And then I understand I am the flow. That's beautiful. That's what is there to understand. Deep, deep stuff, eh? Yeah. Ah.
Swamiji, second guessing oneself, this fear that I do something that is from the ego and it's not pure.
It will become pure. It's okay. You have to let it go. That's natural. It's all from the past. So we can call it second guessing, we can call it doubt, we can call it fear, we can call it inaction or inability to act. You can call it so many things, but by any other name it's the same thing, It's the same thing we are talking about. It's the unconscious that manifests, and we just allow it to go. Even the unconscious, there is something holy and sacred about it. And when you see it as part of the order, you're no longer trying to reject it. You embrace it. You integrate it. The inner child, is already neglected and upset. You don't throw it out. You integrate it, yeah. If you throw it out, it will act out again. If you throw it out of the front door, before you close the front door, it would have come in through the back door. So that's not useful, because it's all about reducing the duality. It's all about integrating. So you have to embrace that. First you have to parent the inner child. There is the duality, the adult and the inner child. The inner child is running the show. It's running a different script. I have no reason to be angry, I am finding myself to be angry. I have no reason to be sad, suddenly I am sad. I have no reason to be angry with this person because I don't even know this person, suddenly I am having a distasteful experience with this person. It's all from the past. Either this past or past life, doesn't matter. We only count this past, because past life too daunting. Who knows how many there have been. So therefore what we do is we just, you see that it is there, it is part of the psychological background, and you parent the inner child. You say, not now, I'll take care of you later. And in the beginning, the inner child is going to put its hand on the hips and say, yeah, right. Like you took care of me all these years, you're going to take care of me later? Yeah, I'm going to believe you. But after a while, if you keep up your word, it will believe you. And it will behave. It will not have a tantrum or an outburst when you don't give it the permission. And slowly, you don't overpower it, you integrate it. When you mother it, when you parent it, it will need less and less parenting, because it's integrating into the adult. That's the process. Yeah. You had a question?
Question, comment, melted away.
Namaha. Or kuch? Anything else?
Swamini, in your talk I heard you use the words intellect and cognition, and it strikes me that a major problem that human beings face is the ability to believe sincerely things that aren't true. And how would you describe the process of going inside and getting more and more truth to come out, thus eliminating that very human tendency? How would you explain that to someone who perhaps isn't desirous of hearing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We call that Shraddha. Shraddha means faith pending understanding. It's difficult to have blind faith. And this is not needing blind faith, because it's you. What we are revealing is your own glory. It's ultimately you. But not knowing that, I have to give myself the benefit of doubt that I am glorious, correct? If I'm learning this knowledge. So Shraddha is, I would describe that as belief pending understanding, pending inquiry. So the inquiry is conducted and the Shraddha is maintained, the fire of Shraddha is maintained until the inquiry proves itself, because the inquiry is nature, and the nature of the teaching is to reveal that which is never hidden but is as though hidden by all these complexities. And so until then the Shraddha fire is kept burning. So the teacher takes care of the inquiry part and the student takes care of the Shraddha part, and so it's a wonderful partnership. The student has to keep the fire of devotion to the knowledge, to the teaching, to the teacher, to Ishvara alive, and the reverence, the devotion, the questioning, the faith has to be kept alive, and that is the student's job. We can give the background for it and we can help propagate it if it is there. If it's a small little fire, you can put, the teaching will put more fuel into the Shraddha and make it a conflagration. But at least that small fire has to be there. If it's not there, another life will come, no problem. That's one of the usefulness of the theory of reincarnation. No problem. Yeah. Nothing lost. Next life, better luck next life. Yeah. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Please take some apples.